He thought he was the star of the day. The tourist crossed the line, first tossing a stone at the royal guard, then smugly declaring that his money gave him the right to do anything. The crowd froze as the guard, the embodiment of restraint and honor, suddenly took a step forward. But what happened next didn't just shock everyone. It forever changed the perception of respect. The story begins. Story. The air around Buckingham Palace buzzed with the chatter of tourists and the faint hum of distant traffic. The golden gates gleamed under the midday sun, their ornate details reflecting the light. The courtyard was a symphony of clicks and flashes as visitors snapped photos of the iconic red-uniformed guards. Among them stood one particularly striking figure, a tall, broad-shouldered guard with a stern expression. His pristine uniform, a rich scarlet jacket with polished gold buttons, contrasted sharply with his ebony bearskin hat, which stood an imposing foot above his head. The guard, known as Private Samuel Clark, was in his early 30s. His dark brown skin glowed under the sunlight, and his sharp cheekbones gave his face a sculpted, stoic appearance. Samuel's eyes, a piercing hazel, remained fixed ahead, never wavering, never betraying even a flicker of emotion. Every inch of his stance spoke of discipline and pride in his role as a symbol of British tradition. The cobblestone square beneath his polished black boots was crowded with tourists. Some were respectful, standing a few feet away and admiring the ceremonial precision. Others were less considerate, inching closer to the guards to snap selfies or wave provocatively. Among the latter group was Tom, a brash American tourist in his mid-20s. Tom stood out with his loud Hawaiian shirt, khaki shorts, and mirrored sunglasses perched on his unkempt blonde hair. He held his phone on a selfie stick, laughing loudly as he captured himself mimicking the guard's rigid stance. "Hey, buddy, lighten up a little," Tom called out, his southern drawl carrying over the noise of the crowd. "You guys ever crack a smile?" The tourists around him chuckled, while some exchanged disapproving glances. Samuel remained unmoving, his expression unyielding. The sun beat down, glinting off his meticulously polished brass belt buckle as Tom's antics grew bolder. The atmosphere shifted slightly, a mix of amusement and discomfort rippling through the crowd. The air seemed heavier now, the chatter of the crowd taking on an uneasy tone. Tom, emboldened by the lack of response from Samuel, bent down to pick up a small pebble from the cobblestones. The sun glinted off his sunglasses as he tossed the pebble lightly in his hand, smirking. "Let's see if he's really made of stone," Tom joked, his grin wide as he lobbed the pebble toward Samuel's boots. The pebble landed with a faint clink against the leather. Gasps rippled through the crowd, and phones were raised higher to capture the unfolding drama. Samuel's jaw tightened imperceptibly, the only sign that he had even registered the provocation. He remained in his stoic stance, his gaze fixed forward. Around him, the air seemed to thrum with tension. The crowd, once jovial, now murmured in hushed tones, their collective attention locked on Tom's escalating behavior. Tom's friends, a similarly rowdy group dressed in casual tourist attire, laughed nervously. One of them, a young woman with curly red hair and freckles, tugged at his arm. "Tom, maybe you should stop. This isn't funny anymore." But Tom shrugged her off, his confidence unshaken. He stepped closer to the white boundary line painted on the cobblestones. His shadow stretched across the line, a bold challenge to the unspoken rule. "Come on, he's not going to do anything. They're like statues," Tom said, waving his hand dismissively. The crowd's disapproval grew more vocal. A middle-aged woman with a Union Jack scarf muttered loudly to her companion, "Some people have no respect." Nearby, a young child clutched his mother's hand, his wide eyes fixed on the scene. The moment came without warning. With a single, deliberate motion, Samuel stepped forward, his polished boots striking the cobblestones with authority. The crowd gasped audibly, their collective intake of breath punctuating the charged atmosphere. Samuel raised his arm, his white-gloved hand pointing directly at Tom. His voice, deep and resonant, cut through the air like a blade. "Step back. Now!" Tom froze. His bravado evaporated in an instant, replaced by a mixture of shock and embarrassment. The crowd's murmurs swelled, some voices cheering softly, others scolding Tom under their breath. Before Tom could respond, a new figure emerged from the crowd. An elderly man with a sturdy cane and a chest adorned with military medals stepped forward. His face, weathered but proud, carried an air of authority. His sharp blue eyes met Tom's. "Young man," the veteran said, his voice steady but firm, "this guard represents centuries of tradition and honor. Show some respect." The crowd broke into applause, their support for the veteran palpable. Tom's shoulders slumped, and his face flushed red. He muttered an apology under his breath, his earlier confidence now a distant memory. A security officer approached, his reflective vest catching the sunlight. He gestured for Tom to step aside, quietly escorting him out of the courtyard. The crowd parted to let them through, many shaking their heads or whispering disapprovingly as Tom passed. Samuel returned to his post, his expression once again calm and stoic. The atmosphere around the courtyard shifted, the tension dissipating and giving way to a sense of resolution. Tourists began to clap, some even calling out words of admiration for Samuel and the elderly veteran. The veteran, satisfied with the outcome, nodded respectfully to Samuel before blending back into the crowd. A young boy approached the white line, his small hand clutching a sketchbook. With his mother's encouragement, he held up a quick drawing of the guard and waved shyly. Samuel allowed the faintest flicker of a smile to touch his lips before returning to his steadfast demeanor. As the sun began its slow descent, casting long shadows across the cobblestones, the crowd slowly dispersed. Yet the memory of the incident lingered, a powerful reminder of the importance of respect and the enduring strength of tradition.